Hi guys, so here's the video to the Easter mini egg Oreo brownie I mentioned earlier. Let me show you the ingredients we've got. Let's get to it. So I've got 4 eggs, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 100 grams of butter, 250 grams of caster sugar, 30 grams of cocoa powder, 15 pieces of Oreo, 200 grams of dark chocolate, 100 grams of plain flour, and 2 bags of mini eggs, and 5 Oreos disattached. Step 1, what we want to do is get a saucepan and get an empty bowl and put your butter and dark chocolate into it to melt. But what you want to do is basically boil your kettle with hot water, so basically you can melt the chocolate together and with the butter. So baking this brownie, you want to preheat your oven to gas mark 4, which is either 180 Celsius or 360 Fahrenheit. So I've done that right here. That's my saucepan, and I've got a clear bowl. I'm just gonna put that in. I'm gonna grab my butter and pour it in there, and I'm gonna grab my dark chocolate and pour that there too. So what we want to do is basically melt this on low heat and keep a watch on it. Whilst we wait for our butter and dark chocolate to melt, I'll show you the next steps so you can keep one step ahead. The next step is to basically combine your flour, cocoa powder, and your baking powder into one bowl. What you want to do is this: you want to sieve your plain flour into a bowl like so. Let me quickly just get this sieved in, guys. I'll be right back. Also sieve in your cocoa powder. When that's all sieved, you want to sieve in your baking powder as well. Now sieve in your baking powder. That's it, all done. Now get a normal tablespoon and just incorporate all that in together, so that way you've got your dry ingredients, which is your flour, baking powder and cocoa powder, all ready. The dry ingredients should look like this. The chocolate and butter mix, as you can see, it's melting. You just want to get a normal spoon and just, fold it in gently to make sure it's melting together. As you can see, our butter and dark chocolate is melting just fine. So what we just want to do is just keep stirring, hit back and forth. The purpose for stirring your chocolate and butter is because you want your butter and chocolate to make a smooth mixture. So when you pull it out with a spoon, it looks like that, which is great. So once this is ready, I will take this out. I'll let it cool for about 20 minutes before we go to the next step. I so love this recipe, guys, because you can customize it and you can make it into literally anything. One thing I really want to do one day is this. I want to make like custard cream brownie, but using white chocolate. But customizing this, you can always add peanuts to your brownies or almonds. I can't eat nuts, I'm allergic. Or I'm allergic to all nuts. You can always add pistachios. You can even add like honeycomb to your brownies. Makes it all fun. So going back to the pot, your chocolate now runs smoothly. Like, I've taken the chocolate and the butter out of the saucepan. So we're just gonna cool this for 20 minutes. Oh my god, guys, cool story. I actually found this recipe on my Olive Magazine channel that I subscribed to on my iPhone. And the recipe at first was a bourbon biscuit brownie. recipe, and I was like, oh my god, I never knew you can turn classic bourbons into brownies. And I was so outstanded, and I made some for my team at work for my birthday when I turned 24 this year, and they actually loved it. And this is the second time I'm making this recipe, because I then tried to get some bourbon brownie from Asda, and I couldn't get some bourbon biscuits at all, so I can make the bourbon brownies. So I then used them Oreo biscuits instead. Works a treat, and I've made it for my church friends as well, and they love it. Moving on to the next step, this is step 3. We've got basically 10 minutes until our chocolate's cooled, so I'll show you what to do with your eggs and your sugar. So what you want to do is pour your eggs into a mixing bowl. Cool thing, I actually found 2 egg yolk in 1 egg. Isn't that cool? So what you want to do is basically get your electric whisk, my mine for Richards, and you start whisking. You want to basically whisk, you know, at like number 1 or 2, and each time you do this, you want to add a tablespoon of sugar to the mix. I'll show you what I mean. Get a tablespoon of sugar. The purpose of doing this is basically to have your egg and sugar turn into a pale color, and until it's literally risen in volume. Look guys, so that's it so far. That's our sugar. I'll just show you the tip to do this really quickly, which is grab a spoon, put it in, and whisk. Now that our sugar and our eggs completely all in, we just want to keep whisking this until it's light, pale, and fluffy. So when we pull it out, it should look like this. Next step to making our brownies is to basically get our butter and chocolate mix right into the egg and sugar mix, and just simply fold all this in until it no longer resembles white. You can see how it looks. You don't want to fold in too much because you don't want to knock out the air in the egg and sugar mix. So next step is to get a spoon of the dry ingredients and then pour it right in, and just keep folding until your dry ingredients incorporate with the wet ingredients. You want to keep folding your flour in at each interval. So what that means is basically just keep folding the flour in each time doing this technique. So that's the last interval of flour and cocoa powder and baking powder as well. So as you can see, our egg and sugar mix is becoming chocolatey, which is really great. Chocolate galore, guys. You guys are gonna literally feel so blessed making this recipe, because you know it's just really great for every day, even in the moment of crisis that we're in. So yeah, basically you should arrive at this point where it's gooey, chocolatey, no flour resembling at all, or mixed in. Now for the fun part, we're just going to tip in the Oreo right into the mix and fold it in as well. Reminds me of this movie that I saw once. Where is it? Oh yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Isn't it lovely, guys? Nice. Now that our Oreos are in, we're just going to tip this into our prepared tin. And spread it until it meets each corner. Literally, at this point, you can feel free to lick the spoon. I'm not gonna hold it against you because I just did, okay? So now the next thing is, our Oreo should look like this in the tray. So I'm just gonna grab our pieces and just place them into the tray. Where can we put that one? Here we go. And I'll get the mini eggs and I'll be right back. Mini eggs take me way back to the days. It wouldn't be Easter without mini eggs at all, because mini eggs, you can do everything with them. You can put them in little, you know those little cereal cupcake thing with the little chicks? You can do that. But we're just going to pour ours right onto our brownie mix. So I'm just going to place them. If you're baking this for your kids, guys, let them do this part because it just makes it so fun. It's so cool. So that's our mini eggs on top. I'm just going to bake this in the oven for a good 30 minutes. This is what our brownie looks like, guys. Not bad at all. So what you want to do is get a skewer and dip it right in to see if it's done. If it's not done yet, you can just put it back into the oven for about 5 minutes more, and then that should do it. So I'm going to do that now. Just taking them out the oven, yay. So I'm just going to let this cook completely in the tin for 30 minutes, guys, on a cooling rack. And then I'll cut it into squares.